As if 2024 hasn't already brought us enough gaming handhelds, IFA brings us the Acer Nitro Blaze 7. I was down at the Acer launch event when the handheld was announced and I was able to get hands-on with it, and here's what I think. With the Nitro Blaze 7 hitting the gaming handheld market so late compared to the competition, you'd think that the company would be learning from their competitors' mistakes. Things like low battery life, low RAM, and just processors not being powerful enough to output to the level of the screens means that a lot of people have had complaints with gaming handhelds in the past year. And of course, this has led to the Steam Deck OLED and the Asus ROG Ally X, where brands have literally had to re-release their gaming handhelds to make them better and bring them up to scratch. And with the Acer Nitro Blaze 7, I don't know where the first 6 went, maybe it's finally time for these issues to be rectified on launch. My first emotion when picking up the handheld was disappointment, to be quite frank with you. The device felt a bit tacky, the plastic used just wasn't great. It genuinely felt quite flimsy and all of the buttons just didn't feel satisfying to press. The D-pad and bumpers particularly just kind of felt like a cheap controller. Although I was playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider in my hands-on session, I would hate to play a fighting game with a D-pad like this. It just felt really tacky. You also don't get any additional buttons on the back of the device like you do with all of the other alternatives on the market. However, for me, that's not too big of a deal. I don't really find myself using those additional buttons. If you do though, you're out of luck here. They're just not there. However, one thing you do get that kind of sets the device apart is a fingerprint scanner. This is great for security, use it for unlocking the device. However, for me, I would have preferred literally anything else. I don't see the fingerprint scanner as entirely necessary. You can still password lock the device the same way you can any Windows device, and I feel like that's completely fine. But for those who are really into their privacy, there you go. So the device comes in at 670 grams. It is quite lightweight, but by no means is it the lightest on the market. However, during my hands-on time, it was super comfortable to hold. It was really ergonomic design. I was able to hold it for a long-ish period of time, and I felt perfectly fine. The weight didn't pose any issues. I didn't feel my wrists hurting. My hands were able to comfortably hold the shell of the device. So now let's talk about the specs. You can find the full specs of the device on screen now. The Acer Nitro Blaze 7 comes with an AMD Ryzen 7 8840HS processor, and you also get built-in AMD Radeon 780M graphics. This processor is a slight improvement over that found in the Asus ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go, which is the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme Edition chip. However, the main difference here is the fact that you have AI capabilities, whatever that means. In terms of overall output and performance for gaming, you're pretty much getting exactly the same thing here. During my hands-on time while playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I got roughly between 80 and 90 frames quite consistently, and it looked really, really good. This was on medium settings and I was running the device at its highest performance level. Of course, I wasn't able to monitor the frames consistently with any proper software. I was just relying on the frame counter in the top corner and having to sort of look over every couple of seconds, so take that as you will. However, it's worth noting that at no point did I notice any frame drops, any choppiness, or any screen tearing. It looked absolutely fantastic, the game was gorgeous, and of course on a smaller screen, medium quality settings still look fantastic. You're not really seeing a lot of the rendering issues or any blurriness or anything like that. Everything looks fantastic on the 7-inch screen. On top of this, I was expecting the device to get quite hot. Of course, we're at IFA, there are a ton of people getting hands-on with the device in a very busy environment, so the game is just constantly running. And even when it came to my turn to have hands-on with the device, it was still really cool. Honestly, the device wasn't even warm to the touch. I was able to hold it perfectly fine and it just felt like I was holding a normal piece of plastic, not a whole gaming device. A downside of my hands-on preview with the handheld was the fact that I had to keep it plugged in the whole time, so I couldn't really gauge the performance of this 50 watt-hour battery that's inside it. However, I do just want to say that having a 50 watt-hour battery in the first place is kind of disappointing. The Ally X improved with an 80 watt-hour battery and that is just so much better. It's really disappointing to see handhelds like this and again the Zotac Zone come out with smaller batteries, even though they've seen that this is such a key issue for a lot of handheld owners. A lot of the battery life talk is going to come down to how well the device is actually optimized, so we'll see how long you can get with actually playing a game. This will definitely be my first point of call when I get the device in for full review, checking how the battery stands up for itself. The screen wasn't anything spectacular at 7 inches and 1080p. Of course, the game I was playing looked gorgeous on it, but that's because the game is pretty. It does have a 144 Hz refresh rate on the screen, so it'll be interesting to see if games can actually output frames to this level for it to be worth taking advantage of. Of course, if you're someone that's into like competitive titles and stuff, then frames can be really, really important, and having a refresh rate that actually matches those frames can contribute contribute to you winning even more. So having a higher refresh rate screen is never really a bad thing. I touched briefly on performance settings before, so you get 3 performance settings on this device, similar to every other gaming handheld that's out there. So you get a silent mode, a performance mode, and then like an intensive mode. All of them increase in power output respectively, just as you'd expect. The silent mode outputs less, so the device stays quieter. Performance is sort of like more optimized, and then the more intensive mode is probably for when you're keeping the device plugged in, because it definitely drains the battery. My time with the Acer Nitro Blaze 7 felt relatively average as far as gaming handhelds go, to be completely honest with you guys. The title I played performed just as expected, and the device was really comfortable to hold while I was playing it. However, the overall build quality really lets it down. It just feels really tacky. I am pleased to say that unlike the MSI Claw and the Lenovo Legion Go, the device wasn't super buggy during my hands-on preview session. It functioned as intended, it wasn't just glitching out, and it was actually a pleasant experience to use it, which hasn't been the case in the past with these handhelds that just haven't been ready to launch. I will say it's really disappointing that this has become the bar for gaming handhelds, just that they're not buggy in a hands-on preview session, but that is what it's come to, and luckily the Nitro Blaze 7 does pass. I'm excited to get the device in for a full review and really see how it stacks up against the competition. There are a ton of gaming handhelds on the market right now, and I really want to see if this one's worth the bang for its buck. However, we don't actually know the price or release date yet. I think the price will definitely be the determining factor as to whether this is worth picking up or not, as is with everything. So until we have the price, I'm just not sure whether I want to recommend this or not. If it comes in cheaper than alternatives on the market, like the Asus ROG Ally X or Lenovo Legion Go, then of course it is worth picking up, because I had a pretty good time using it, and despite the build quality not being all there, that doesn't really matter to everybody. However, if it comes in the same price, I will be super duper let down, because it has a smaller battery and less RAM. It's just not great. So we'll really have to see. It comes down to the price for me. What do you guys think about the Acer Nitro Blaze 7? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think it's just another cash grab from these companies releasing a ton of gaming handhelds, or do you think it is going to stack up to the competition? If you've liked this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel. This has been Jasmine from the Mirror Gaming team, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!